Hello everybody. Today we have gathered the committee to discuss a recent problem based on losing market share. However, before starting, I want you to go over the agenda so we can have just a brief speech about what is going to happen in this meeting. First, we need to introduce the topic, which means that everybody should say their understanding about the problem. Then we're going to discuss a strategy that will positively influence us. And then when a strategy is chosen, we will get into deeper in the tactics. I hope you have already looked at it before the meeting.
Yes.
Yeah. Any claims, any notes? Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this meeting, and I hope we'll find a solution that everybody can be happy with.
Yes, I agree. By the way, I'll be taking notes of the major decisions on my notebook.
As will I. I'll be taking some handwritten notes, and I will be observing the agenda and my notes on my mobile device.
All right.
Exactly. Okay. So I think we can start with the problem itself. We saw that we have lost some share in the market, which means we're losing customers. And as a bank, our biggest revenue is coming from the retail banking, which means the consumer banking. There are other services, as you know, that we offer, like the investment, merchant, private banking. However, you should say your opinion on what service we should focus so we can hire the demand there and return our market share.
I think a feasible solution is if we know that we are currently most successful in retail banking, I think maybe we can allocate our focus there.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion.
Well, we've been taken, or our customers have been taken by other banks, right? Like other bigger banks taking our customers because they have a bigger name, and they're kind of like marginalizing us to away from our original position. I think we really have to reconsider our position in the market right now and definitely take actions to prevent that from happening, or even go very aggressive and try to expand our market share or our influence on the market.
But why do you think that the reason is as to why we lost to these big competitors? Like, what are the areas that we are lacking in currently, which we can then develop on?
I think we haven't focused on our customers too much.
Yeah.
Likewise, we could also trying to think about different sectors. I know right now the most revenue we gain is from our customers, so the customer banking or the retail banking.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if we focus, maybe change our direction into investment banking, we could really improve our general revenue overall. That would mean to actually change the course of our company or our bank quite drastically. I don't know how feasible that is, but I guess we can discuss this.
And Daniela, in your opinion, what service is suitable to be developed more?
I think since we're a local bank, we should focus on our advantages against the international banks, and we can focus mainly on the local people and offer them services which are desired by them. Maybe we can find out about this through surveys or just trial versions of different products. For example, the online banking.
So we are in for investing into our retail service.
Yes, since we have the most revenue from it, I think it will be better to increase and emphasize on that.
Bastian, are you?
I do agree, but I think we should keep other options in mind, because I think we are very focused on our current our current way of doing things. So I think if we open our minds to new ways, we might be able to actually improve so much more than if we only stay or remain with our current course, which is or honestly like not the best right now, as we can see with our declining market share. I think we can go on to discuss the goal that we all have in mind.
If I could just make one more point, although I agree with you that I think it's better to reach out and sort of invest in multiple sectors, I think with retail banking it might be, so to say, a little bit of the easier option to advertise since it's directly like affecting customers and day-to-day people, while I think reaching firms and more reaching the high-end people who are going to be investing, I think that might be a harder target group. Just I'm thinking like if we want to cater to them, I think it might be I don't want to say easier option, but it might be a more feasible, as you say.
I do not disagree, but I think at the same time we really have to consider it. And plus, I think even though it might be harder to gain that target group or to work in that field, especially because it would mean a complete innovation or like a complete change of direction for us, I think it might make sense as it might provide us with more profit. But we do have to conduct research in order to have tangible products and numbers at hand.
But the thing is that maybe we can focus on both target segments, but first maybe we can just develop our already developed retail sector, and then this will be until we gather data for the segment you proposed.
Yes.
I really see your point of view, actually, because if you think about it, maybe the reason that we have lost share, maybe it is because we've been focused mainly on consumer banking. But at the same time, we need to think about the costs, and as well as that we're a local bank. And for local banks, not many companies reach to, so in order to invest their money in other capital, which means that maybe this time we could discuss the retail segment.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I definitely agree to that. But now I think there are two main ways we can approach. The one is to reclaim our market share and stay there, stay the local trustful bank that we are right now, or that we're trying to be right now, or we expand, we get bigger, which is, in my opinion, probably like the better option, because in my opinion, the only real future is in growth, and I think we should definitely invest a lot in growth and expanding our market and expanding our banks, our customer base, just to provide a healthy future of our company.
But don't you think we're putting ourselves in a risk, since there are many major competitors out there which are much bigger, and if we went to such expansion, we're facing them and they're going to be the ones taking our business.
To this I can say high risk, high reward. So I really think, of course it will take risk, of course not everything will go as planned, but I think the reward we will cash in the end will definitely be worth it, worth the hassle, worth the trouble.
Yeah, although I agree, I think it might be a more feasible solution if we stabilize as a company first before, because there is high risk, high reward. However, with competitors that are actually overpowering us so much that the risk will outweigh the reward, I think it might be better to have a sort of backup plan.
I definitely agree. Yeah, sure. And I think we might, or we have to stabilize in order to. I mean, in order to jump higher, you have to stand on firm ground and be able to push off from somewhere. Otherwise we'll just get lost in the on the way.
Yeah, for sure.
What's your idea to stabilize the company?
Good question. Well, you made the point about stabilizing the company. So, do you have any ideas in the moment? Well,
I'm gonna have to give that some thought to stabilize the company now. I think what we can do is, with the resources that we have, is make an effective marketing campaign and sort of focus our attributes on, as we are a local company, and that might be our biggest advantage in competition to these international competitors. Maybe we can focus on giving something back to the community so they can give back to us. And I think maybe a feasible solution you can disagree if you think I'm wrong, is to do a sort of local workshop slash activity, and it can be a fair, it can be integrated into schooling, it can be through churches, whichever is a local service, and then we can teach them something about investment banking so they can give back to us by investing or becoming our client.
So to conclude, we all agree that the future of the bank lies within, well, first of all, fixing our missing market share, as in like building a solid base again, and then further innovate ourselves and further expand.
Maybe with the attention that we're getting to then
Okay,
expand.
but don't you think it makes sense to do that kind of hand in hand? Because if we already invest into a big marketing campaign, we can also invest in a marketing campaign that allows us to grow even further. You know what I'm saying?
It'll be very costly.
Yeah, it will be very costly. And in my idea is that expansion is in the very further future. So now maybe this meeting we can focus on just returning our market share.
But don't you think? I think if we do that, that we spend so much money and effort on just retaining our market share again.
I don't mean retaining, returning first.
Well,
then
returning,
growing.
but I think it's it goes hand in hand, you know, because if we start like investing, you know, we won't, or if we then decide to stop where we were before, we won't get anywhere. But if we just decide to invest step by step, we can use this momentum to further grow, you know. I don't think, because the way I understand it, you think of kind of like a staircase where we reach one stair, and then, or one step and then the other.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking straight line, you know, as in we expand further and further and further. Yeah. Any opinions on that?
I think that maybe a straight line is better, but at the same time, we have to start from somewhere.
Oh, that's definitely true.
Yeah.
That's definitely true.
So before we invest in all the activities we have in mind, we have to start from one thing, for example, or two, and then with time we can expand like to such heights.
Oh, we definitely have to set like steps and like.
What happened to your straight line?
Well, it's a straight line, but of course you have to set up priorities, and it's not, well, you gotta learn how to ride a horse before you decide to go traveling on a horseback, right?
Yeah.
So I think we should do that first.
Then to go back on to come back on track, just to revise what we're going to focus on now. What are we going to focus now? The steps or the straight line?
Well, basically what we have is a short-term and a long-term strategy.
Yeah.
Our short-term strategy is to regain our market share.
Yeah.
And the long-term strategy is to further expand and grow our bank.
And increase it.
So I think we have to brainstorm about ideas how we reach the short-term goals and how we reach the long-term goals.
Yes.
I like the idea of brainstorming, actually.
Yes. I think it's a good idea to separate them into two categories and then see how much money can be allocated into each sector to make it as feasible and as low risk as possible.
And I think we should take decisions for the short-term activities or short-term tactics now, but for the long-term strategies we should decide upon them, but we can delay unless they are really, really important or need a certain time frame before we actually make them happen. So I think, we should start with the short term first.
Most definitely.
I'm sure we're going to have we're going to have more scheduled meetings in the upcoming months, so definitely we're going to discuss the long-term strategy. Yes. Now, with the short term, now are we going to just say how we're thinking that it would be a good idea to advertise to their customers, or are we going to speak about the investment? Maybe first about the way and then about how much it will cost.
Yes.
Okay.
Because then we can, once we have an idea, we can work around how large scale, how small scale, and how much it will actually involve.
True.
Agree. As I mentioned before, I think a good short-term strategy would be to have these sort of workshops.
Yeah, I think it's important that we expand or make our customer base bigger, as we lose, especially young customers, to the international banks, and we should make things happen in order to regain them, or like to get them back or make them come back to us.
That's actually a really good point to mention, that we can target the younger customers who have been sort of like internationalized by these banks. What do you think would it be through these workshops, or how do you think we can reach them?
Well, I mean, we live in times of digitalization, so I think that's the way to go. We don't have an online banking set up, or we do have it in its baby steps, basically, but we have to further improve. I think if we invest in that, set up a online banking system, we definitely improve in the long run as well. So that is, in my opinion, one of the highest priorities right now.
Daniela, do you think that there are any disadvantages of developing our online services?
Well, the disadvantage maybe that it will be costly because first we need to hire people to actually develop the banking system, and another thing is that we need to advertise it. So our new target segment won't know about the online banking unless we show them that we have that feature.
So are we trying to get our customers, or which were before customers, to our bank, or are we trying to get new customers, or both?
I think both would be the best idea.
But I think online recruitment is a sort of new generation of customers. So
Yeah.
I think we would probably have to dominantly focus on a younger generation with online banking. Because I think one of the risks associated with targeting an older group or already existing customers is that they'll become wary of this online system, that they like the traditional sense of going to the bank and knowing that what they get is safe.
Why do you think they're like it more?
I think because they're not familiar with the digital age that necessarily the younger generation grew up with. So I think when you become familiarized with it from a young age, you might...
But here again, we could offer a workshop for the elder people.
Exactly.
And in order to, well, not only for our old customers, but also for newer, older customers. So we can, I mean, we won't convince all of them, for sure. I mean, they won't, when they have done like well, not online banking, the paper banking for like the past 40 years, they won't switch like right away. But we can try to facilitate it for them.
I get the idea of workshops being organized. However, we're speaking here in numbers of like hundreds of customers. We're not speaking about losing 20 people or trying to gain 30 people back. And I don't think that workshops are a feasible idea if we want to reach more than 100 people.
I think maybe if someone from the old generations go to the bank, because as you already said, they do that, maybe we can just offer them our new service, explain to them how it works, and if they want, they may get it, but if they don't, it's fine. I mean, they can continue coming to the offices.
That's a good idea.
I think maybe if the workshops, if they would be implemented, I think it could also kind of serve as a chain reaction, that if, let's say there's a set of 20 people who actually attend this workshop, I think a much larger platform will be reached if we advertise it correctly, and if they then communicate their skills that they learn to other people, or if we attend schools, then we automatically have a larger audience, you know?
Yeah, I also don't think that we should focus too much on the elderly people for the online banking, but rather on the younger generation. And on that hand, or on that occasion, I'd also think about workshops again, even though you say it's a very like short, but imagine like we reach out to all schools and we offer them financial courses, because I think that's what they want. I heard people complain that in school they don't learn about taxes, they don't learn about money, they don't learn about how to invest, how to earn money, you know, while you put it in the bank. So I think we should reach out to schools because the people that are in school now are the customers of tomorrow, right?
True.
So it makes sense to invest in them, also in the long and therefore I think we should reach out to the schools and set up workshops, maybe tax. I mean, it sounds kind of like boring, I guess, but if we make it kind of fun and like interactive, we give them some gadgets maybe.
So your idea is to market our bank today, and then when they reach like an age where they need to use a banking service, they will reach to us.
Well, I'm not talking. Well, I'm talking like high school here. Not like of course not 5th, 6th grade where they're like just got their parents' money.
So,
but like as soon as they start working their side job and like opening their own bank account, that's when they become interesting for us as well. So I think we should target that group. They actually have an understanding of money by then. So I think that's a good way to also have a bigger growing customer base.
Or universities, for example.
Oh yeah, right.
The thing is that if you target high schools, the high schools start from what age?
I think high school is 14 onward.
14, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
but
14 is too
in
young.
England.
Oh.
Well,
Because afterwards you have college in England. So
I'm talking
college
the
is
last 2 years of
college.
of high school, college, basically.
Yeah, I think maybe we can target the age and not exactly
Yeah.
the high school, because high school takes more years. And also, I don't think the 13-year-olds will be down
No, I
to attend your
definitely,
workshop.
I definitely agree to that. Yeah, I definitely agree to
We can definitely specify that within the campaign that we are like looking and attracting to customers from, let's say, 16 onward.
Yeah.
Or
16 onwards. But,
So,
but where do you find your 16 onwards? In colleges, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
college, so not high school.
16 up to, let's say, 25.
The thing is that this is not college, so let's make it like 2 target segments.
Okay.
Until 16, maybe until 19 or 18. And the other segment can be the universities, but not business universities, right? Because they know that already.
Do they?
Probably.
Yeah, I think maybe.
I think
18
for
to
universities only first year of university,
Yeah.
because if you don't have an idea about banking in your first year of university, I don't think you will be very like knowledgeable about other banks and stuff, which means that they might be not our potential customers.
Yeah, so do it until 19 and 20 maybe.
Yeah, 1920.
But why don't we offer it to more people, like even the older ones? Because I mean, you can be 22, 23 and never like think of, or have thought about money before. And I think we kind of cut ourselves if we say, oh, we only want the 20 years old.
I think this is about these age gaps are about the workshops and where we can offer our service, like institutions, like
But,
university and
yeah,
college.
I think so. Sorry to
No,
interrupt,
that's
but like I think it makes sense to just offer to us like university, and whoever is interested can come. Because
Okay, that's
there are
true.
just like to the whole like university, we don't have to say only first years are allowed to join the course.
That's true,
True.
because those who are actively seeking will probably jump at the opportunity
Exactly.
to become our client.
And we,
Yeah.
I mean, banking has this like boring reputation, so I think we might be not as successful as we think we are, and we have to keep that in mind. So targeting a bigger customer base might be more or smarter for us in the long run.
Do you think another segment maybe the international students which come to England?
Yeah, exactly. No,
Yeah.
for real, I really
It's-
like your idea.
It's very good, yeah.
We could add, but I would focus more on the English
Yeah,
students.
true. Yeah, for
But
sure.
we could add extra courses for international students. I think that's a very good idea, yes.
Maybe through the university, we could have a fair to then introduce our bank in the beginning of the year, so
Yeah.
then they can set that up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And actually, for university, it's a good idea because you know that maybe a higher percentage of students need a loan to finance their years at university, which means that we can be that bank to offer this to them. And this, however, might have a change on our interest, since if we want younger people to vent to us and get a loan to cover their expenses in university, they will be looking for the lowest interest rate. Yes.
Although I agree with your point that they will be looking for the lowest interest rate, I think if we can sort of make up for it in other areas, then I think that is something that might not need changing, if that makes sense.
You mean other areas such as?
I can't really necessarily think of anything off the top of my head, but I think interest rate obviously is something that they look at.
Yeah.
But I think that there's also other factors such as safety and like access to online banking, as you mentioned before. And I think if we have these snippets that are advantageous to them, maybe interest rates won't necessarily be the biggest factor they look at.
But also maybe they look at how easy it is to actually get a loan, because in many banks you have to make a lot of the documents in order to get a loan. So maybe we can have specific
accessibility
requirements for students. Yeah, also.
And you would want a separate sector for students, then?
Maybe about the loans or in general.
I think both would. I think a loan, like specific criteria for loans, that it's a faster progress for students.
Yeah.
I think that's a very good idea.
So far, we have decided on developing our mobile services, as well as reaching to a younger generation, which means offering workshops in universities and at the last two ages years in college. So, yes, sorry, apologies. Okay. So we're gonna continue with that base we have now to vent into like more deep like tactics, such as the message that we want to say, like our positioning statement.
I also think we should think about the advertising channels we're using
as well.
I think maybe billboards, maybe because we haven't invested into big marketing campaigns for quite a while now, which might be a reason why the bigger banks are taking our customers. Maybe we should put advertisements on buses as well.
But do you think they work? Yeah. Because, to be honest, in my experience, I never turn an eye on a billboard, or maybe I will look at the bus like advertisement, but it should be something really catchy.
It has to be catchy, definitely, but that's the catch we have to work with now, right? We have to find a catchy phrase or something. We want to approach a younger generation, so we have to be very juvenile. Like we have to reach out to them and we have to catch them, like you say.
Don't you think? Don't you think it's better to do online advertisement? First, it's more accessible. Second, we're reaching to younger target segments.
Oh, I definitely agree that we should do online marketing, but at the same time, I think if we are present in the public sector, how are students coming to class? The public transport, right?
True.
So they are using metros, they are using buses, and they are using. I know they have to walk sometimes. So I think if we're present there, we will reach out to them anyway. And if we have a catchy slogan, a catchy for this campaign, we will be able to have them come to us,
I agree with Bashan on this. I think that sort of in-person advertisement, although it might seem like it's slightly outdated, it still is the most effective, because maybe I think online advertisement to a certain extent works. However, if you see it in person, if you see it at a bus stop, if it's a catchy phrase, humorous, if there's something memorable about it, I think you're much more likely to memorize it or to remember it than if you see something on a website, if that makes sense.
I think it actually helps if we have offline and online, because when you see it offline, then when it pops up to you on your social media, you will be like, oh yeah, I saw this in town.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So I think social media advertising is something we should consider, because, well, of course, young people are using the social media a lot these days, so that should be where our focus is on. But we also have to remember how many of our customers are actually students, because I think we talked a lot about this, and I think it makes sense. But at the same time, we have to kind of focus also on other sectors, because only students alone won't be able to solve our problem.
But didn't we already decide that in the first step in our short-term strategy that we're gonna target this student specifically?
I don't say we shouldn't target them, but I say we should target someone else as well. Because if you think about it, the people between 18 and 25 that we're focusing now are such a small part of the population. So I'm thinking
I don't specifically agree.
I think we should expand our marketing strategy also on young adults and because I don't think just students is enough.
I don't think the targeting is the word we must use about this, because you're right, we have to keep our old customers as well, like the customers we already have who are older than 25, but at the same time we can focus on the others but not forget about
I think maybe a feasible solution would be is if we categorize which people are looking for banks. So if we sort of divide it by saying, okay, students, they just want to open an account, they need to look for a bank. People who are looking for a mortgage or who are just buying their first house, what age group would that be? And then maybe people who just retired, maybe they want to change banks or such. I think it would be smart if we sort of categorize each group, which we think would be the largest and most influential on us, and then sort of go from there.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I think you're right. But this is implying that we need multiple marketing campaigns, and multiple marketing campaigns means more costs, and more costs compared to our lost market share is not helping us right now. And I know that we should get the customers, but maybe spending all of this in advertising won't be the best, because as you said, we also need to spend in a mobile service. So therefore, we need to keep it simple.
What do you suggest then as an overarching campaign for sort of all customer groups?
For all customers, I think we should have only two. Meaning the ones that we'll be speaking about, the workshops,
yes,
and the student target. Also, the second campaign will be for the already existing customers. Do you agree?
I'm thinking we should set up a meeting for the discussion for the youth strategy or youth marketing campaign, and then we should have one where we kind of advertise ourselves as the local bank that can take care of your worldly problems, basically, so we regain our customers.
This is a really good message.
Because we do have the personal connection to them. We are here, you know. We're not like somewhere from there. Like, we are here for them, you know, and we should try to like emphasize that, remind them of that we're there for them and we will help them no matter what. So in conclusion, I think two campaigns might be the way.
Yeah.
And two campaigns are the way we should definitely pursue.
So, Han, in your opinion, after we develop the mobile service, like where should we vent to?
What do you mean, how we should market it, or how we should...
After we market it, do you think that we need to find another service to focus on?
In regards to after online?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me have a quick look at my notes.
Of course.
I think... I don't necessarily think that there's anything else that we can do. Do you guys have any other suggestions? Do you think that there's any other type of campaigning or sector that we can go into?
Well, I think for the short term, we are already, I think we're quite settled, but I think in the long run, our aim should be to expand our bank, our business. For that, I propose right now we're operating in northeast England. So I think to expand further south as well, reaching out to different student cities, university cities maybe, which goes along with the youth campaign we're starting right now.
I do think that the biggest issue would be that all the larger international companies are located there. They're located in London, which is slightly more south of where we are now, and I think that might pose as a large problem because we are entering a market where there's these big dominating companies, and we as a little company with our main campaign is that we are local, that we appeal to our local customers. So I think if we can insert in the market the right way, it could be effective because we can connect to some of the students there or some of the locals.
Yeah.
But I think we really need to put a lot of thought into how we're going to insert that market.
Sure, we probably have to go step by step by step, so we don't seem to take over like the whole country. Even though that should be our
That would
plan
be
at
the
the
ultimate
end.
goal, yes.
So do you want to recap so far what we have,
Yes.
so we can make at least a tactical plan for the following month?
For the short term, yeah.
Okay, the recap is that we are creating the workshops. We are hiring the team to update our online services.
I think our first priorities should be the online services.
Okay, I agree.
Then second, well, the marketing campaigns we're starting are on the one hand the youth campaign,
Workshops.
which include workshops probably.
Okay.
Then our local but worldly approach would be the second campaign.
Which is for the existing customers.
Exactly, yeah. And, well, maybe we can add some here and there,
And as an addition to what Daniela said before, the accessibility for the loans for students. So make that add that into the sector of the youth. Yeah,
campaign.
the youth campaign. So now we have the youth campaign and the worldly, but
Local.
okay, yes,
Local.
local. Yeah, okay.
Worldly but local. Do you want to think of a message that we're going to say? Like exactly the message.
You already said something really nice.
Can you remind me?
I am sorry, but I think I missed that. Like, I don't remember. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But it might come back.
Yeah.
I'll let you know as soon as I got it.
Thank you.
Danielle don't remember what.
I think we can check the video afterwards.
What would you? I don't know what you're talking about. I think in the long run, though, we should. I've heard about this other bank that is competing in Southwest England, and I think we should maybe merge with them or acquire them because it will cost us quite a bit, but I think it makes sense.
That's a very costly decision.
Yeah. How are
Very-
we jumping from the message for the youth
Yeah.
to making partnerships with
Yeah,
other
we have to
brands?
align everything we do, short, long-term strategy with each other, I think.
But I think the profits we make from the short-term strategy will kind of give us some new assets that we can then use to acquire the new company.
Do you want to discuss this in the next meeting?
We can do that, of course, yes.
Yeah, because we need a lot of time to discuss this.
Yeah.
It's a big decision.
Acquisitions are hefty on the company. Yeah.
Sure. So we couldn't come up with the message exactly for the young customers.
Well, we do
Let's
have the
get
next
on.
meeting, right? Because I don't think we should rush with that. We should maybe
Actually, I
focus.
think we should rush with that because losing revenues after every single month is not helping.
But it's not like we're gonna meet in a year again. I think we're gonna. Well, our next meeting is set up in 2 weeks, right? So I think that should be more than enough time for every one of us to actually think about the problems and maybe some ideas, some slogans.
Now that you mention ideas, I think I found maybe another
Yeah.
sort of campaign. What if we implement an open day to our bank where we can get customers to see like the sort of day-to-day operations where they can ask questions, like sort of a Q&A, if that's something that they wanted to do? Because I think that would give the personal feel that the online service wouldn't necessarily do. If that's something that we can work with.
I think that's
I think that's very feasible.
But how are you making customers come to to the open day, because usually when someone has questions, they just go to the bank and ask.
That's
as
true.
well true.
That's
Yeah.
true.
We provide balloons and cake. Sorry for interrupting.
What?
Balloons and cake.
I-
That's how we get them.
Very
And
attractive.
tea. And
Very
tea. And tea.
attractive.
You have to also advertise the open day.
But that's where I think it gets tricky, because we have to specifically advertise open days to customers who are seeking a bank, who
Yeah.
aren't necessarily looking for like solutions. I think that are either done with their old bank and want to switch, want something new, don't have a bank yet, and
Yeah.
I think maybe we can do sort of start small with street campaigns, handing out flyers.
I think this is the thing that you mentioned was very good for the campaign to retain our existing customers.
Yeah.
For the open day, because in this way, as you said, we're local. In this way, they will feel much more closer to our way of working, our values.
Yeah.
Even
The interactive part is definitely what I think the locals are looking for. So I think that would be something that could be interesting for the short-term strategy.
so for now, we have the 2 campaigns, and we have the online banking service. I think we have come to good decisions in this meeting. I'm really happy that you could all take part and say your opinions. Also, if you have any remarks after this meeting, please send an email. I will also send you the notes that have been
Very much.
taken.
The debriefing, yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now, do you have any questions or something about the following meeting?
When would we have this, and what exactly would we be discussing in this meeting?
So the following meeting will be probably for the second campaign, since we now discussed the youth workshops.
Okay.
Then I think it is good to be for the second campaign. What do you think?
I don't think we're that far with the campaign yet, but
Okay.
well, we have the meeting on the 20th of June, and we can get further into the campaigns.
Is everybody free then?
Yes.
20th of June. Then a formal invitation will be sent. Thank you.
I think maybe it would be beneficial if we also discuss sort of long-term strategies that you were saying before, so we can function in this straight line.
So also long term. Okay. Then I can close this meeting.
Yes.
Happily with the decisions we've made so far, and we can reach to the marketing department later.
Great.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.